Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Marlon Blake, and I serve as one of the Assistant Dean of Students here at the University of St. Thomas. We'll be getting started here in a few minutes. We'll just continue to let folks kind of continue to roll in. But I kind of just want to first just welcome all of you and thank you for spending this evening with us. We hope that this will be an informative time for all of you and that you'll kind of get to learn a little bit more from our administrators here, and to hopefully for those who submitted questions, continue to hopefully get your questions answered from there. Before we kind of get started, I first want to introduce one of our guests, Yvette Alcana. She's our interpreter for tonight for those who have requested Spanish. So I'll allow her to introduce herself and kind of give those participants who would like to hear the cast in Spanish to have her introduce herself first.
Muy buenas tardes a todos a este webinar de la Universidad de St. Thomas. Nos encontramos muy contentos de que ustedes hayan podido participar en esta reunión el día de hoy. Vamos a tener una sesión muy interesante. Al final va a haber preguntas y respuestas en una sesión dedicada. Así que les damos la bienvenida. Estamos aquí para ustedes. Gracias.
And thank you again, Yvette, for being here as well. So with that being said, I know we'll probably continue to have folks rolling in over the next few minutes, but I kind of want to go ahead and get us started, being mindful of time tonight and understanding it's probably already been a long day for a lot of us. And so we'll go ahead and get started from there. The first thing I just kind of want to introduce and just help us to understand our format for tonight. Our format for tonight will really be around having our administrators kind of talk through some of the highlights that they want to go through, and then we'll go into a Q&A session. That involves, we ask folks to submit questions beforehand, and so those will be kind of our talking points that we'll have. But please know if you have questions, you can still submit those in the Q&A. And you will be able, if we have time, we'll be able to try to get to those questions. We do have some folks in the background who may be chatting back to you to answer your questions. But again, we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. And you probably have noticed that you're on mute at this time. And so just know you'll remain on mute and only see the panelists through the rest of our program tonight. With that being said, I first want to introduce Dr. Julie Sullivan, who serves as our president here, and I'll have you, Julie, talk for the next few minutes.
Thank you very much, Marlon. And you are a great resource for our parents of our St. Thomas students, and I want to thank you for that work. And thank you for moderating our discussion tonight. And I want to thank all of our parents for attending. It's a wonderful opportunity to engage with you, and we want you to know that you are a critical part of our St. Thomas family, and we want to hear your voices and have you be a part of our mission of helping to prepare your children to be morally responsible leaders. So thank you very much for being with us tonight. I also want to recognize that the past 18 months has been difficult for everyone, and I know it's been particularly difficult for parents of high school and college students as they've been facing a lot of uncertainty and some abrupt ends to their social and sometimes academic experiences. And you've been trying to nurture and sustain them through that. I want to thank you very much and thank you for helping them be on a path that led to St. Thomas. We are delighted for them to be a part of our community. I also want to say that the community is feeling very uplifted and inspired right now. I would say that there's a lot of joy on campus and that we would say that it is a great time to be a Tommy today. We're really working hard to give our students a holistic experience, an experience that helps them learn and grow both in and out of the classroom. And our faculty and staff are very, very committed that our university is really a global example of a university that values and uplifts all people. We take it very seriously to really execute and operationalize our mission, which, as you know, is to prepare morally responsible and principled leaders who seek to advance the common good. These are leaders who seek to understand how they can contribute to a more socially, economically, and environmentally sustainable world. We also prepare them for careers. We prepare them not only for their first job, but for their first 4 or 5 careers, which they are likely to have, given the time period in which they'll be graduating, and also for jobs that don't even exist today. And I'll talk a little bit more about our approach to that. But what I want to say is your children, who are now young adults, are going to be growing a lot during the next years. They're going to be discovering themselves, their passions, their talents, the things that really inspire them. They're going to be turning to you. And it's really important that we all are there to support them along the way and to help them discover who their best self is and how they can live a happy and fulfilling life. And I know that's probably the most rewarding part of my job as a president, to be able to walk alongside our students as they go through this discovery process. It has been a joy to be on campus. After last year, our students are so happy for everyone to be back on campus, for our classes to be primarily in person. When classes change, you can't even find room to walk on the sidewalk because people are out and busy. And I've never encountered so many smiles, and so many students who greet me by name because they're happy and joyful to connect with people, connect with me, and to connect with each other. And it's really been such an inspiring first few weeks of classes. We had a robust incoming class. Our overall enrollment at the university at this moment is between 9,300 and 9,400 total students. That's undergrad and grad. That's about typical. We always, for the last 20 years really, have had between 9,000 and 10,000 total students at St. Thomas. Not many people, or many people, I guess, think we're smaller than that, but that's been pretty stable for us. We currently have a little over 6,000 undergraduate students, which is also pretty stable. And our freshman class is just under 1,300, about 1,275 students. What I'm really proud of is of our freshman class, 94% are living on campus. 94% of our freshman class. Typically, only about 83 to 84% of our freshmen live on campus. And the higher numbers are a result of our new 2-year residency requirement, our efforts to build a robust residency culture. Of course, I hope you're aware of the 2 new dorms that we've opened just in the last year, as well as we've been going through some planned renovations of our existing dorms. And really all of the literature in higher education shows that students who live on campus experience a greater sense of belonging, higher retention rates, and ultimately higher graduation rates. And that's particularly true for those first 2 years. So that's the philosophy behind our change. And we're delighted to have so many of our students on campus. It really makes it so vibrant. We did welcome our most diverse class in our history. We have 22% of our incoming freshmen are first generation, and 25% are students of color. So we're very pleased about that as well. We have launched about a year ago a new strategic plan. We refer to it as St. Thomas 2025. It's our 5-year strategic plan. And as you may know, as you've been learning more about St. Thomas, as your students were investigating coming to join our community, and as you've been a member of our community, a lot has been happening at St. Thomas over the last 5 years, and a lot will continue to happen. And I'm very excited about these new things that we have on tap. But I also want to assure you that the fundamental values and traditions of our education remain. We will always be a student-centered university. We will always be a student that embraces our Catholic mission, a very powerful mission of advancing the common good and really respecting and promoting the dignity of all human life. We always have always been a university that's pursued academic excellence. We have an outstanding faculty, And their primary mission is to teach our students. They often become mentors lifelong of our students. And I think the kind of three-pronged nature of our education, which I would describe as a liberal arts foundation. And what a liberal arts foundation is that we're going to provide courses that prepare your students to be very strong in critical thinking, reasoning skills, creativity, communication, teamwork, the ability to see things that appear disconnected and find those connections. Those are skills that are timeless. Those are the skills that will help prepare them to have 4 and 5 careers when they leave here and to have jobs that don't exist today. So one leg of that stool. The second leg of that stool is that we often refer to ourselves as a comprehensive university. And when you're outside of academia, you might say, well, what does that mean? That means that not only do we have all of the disciplines in our College of Arts and Sciences, but we have all of the professional schools that also lead to many great careers. Of course, we have business, we have law, we have engineering, we have a new College of Health, we have education. So we have the breadth of majors that are going to give the students the skills to get that first job and to start those careers. And thirdly, ours is a values-oriented education. It will always be a values-oriented education. We care about developing character. When we say we're developing morally responsible and principled leaders, they're people of character. And that those three things will always be the same. But we have to do those three things in the context of a totally different world, in the context of a world that is changing rapidly. And so we change. And we are doing things like starting a new school of nursing, because that's become one of the most demanded fields in the state of Minnesota. And Provost Rojas will probably say more of that. We're about to build or break ground on a brand new academic facility on our South Campus that we're calling our STEAM complex. That stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. Our STEAM complex is going to be a complex that houses experiential learning classes for our engineering disciplines, our science disciplines, our emerging media disciplines, our visual arts, our music, and it's really our computer science. It's going to be an interdisciplinary building where students are learning across disciplines and learning in an experiential way. And I can't wait for our students to experience this building, because I think it will give us new learning opportunities that we haven't been able to provide in the past. We've also just opened an alumni career and corporate center. We're really redoubling our efforts to ensure that our students are networked with career opportunities and internships from their very first days on our campus. This is a new center in Murray Herrick Hall, and one person is overseeing a larger team that is our career development team, our alumni engagement team, and also our corporate relationship team, because we realize that some of the biggest assets we have for our students in terms of helping them find those careers and those career paths are our alumni network, which is over 115,000 strong, as well as the corporate community that we exist in here in the Twin Cities and well beyond. So we are really intensifying our efforts to make sure our students have those opportunities to have those internships while they're in school and discover what their real career passions are, and to be on that path to pursue that career as soon as they graduate. And the last thing I want to touch on is athletics. As you know, that's been a big change on our campus as well. We have recently moved to Division I. And I want to say that the two things that bring me most joy about this move may not be the two things that you might anticipate. One is the spirit that Division I competition brings to our campus. Our first home football game, our student section was sold out, and we had 500 other students jumping up and down behind the goalpost in the north end zone. It's so wonderful for our students to have opportunity to come together in community and celebrate that kind of spirit together. I traveled to San Diego for the University of San Diego football game this past Saturday when University of St. Thomas played University of San Diego. We had twice as many St. Thomas fans there as San Diego fans. It was amazing. And again, I was back in time for our hockey game, our first men's hockey game on Sunday, where we played St. Cloud State, the #1 ranked men's hockey team in the country. And we lost 2-0. But the joy was the students that were there, the spirit that was there. And then the second joy, which I've been experiencing, is our student athletes are having the opportunity to compete at a higher level. I watched our men's hockey players stand in the Excel Center with all of the lit scoreboards around them, playing a top nationally ranked team. And they were so proud, and we were so proud. And competing at a higher level makes you better. So we're delighted about these opportunities and excited to continue our journey into Division I. And as I wrap up, I just want to say how grateful and humbled I am to be a part of your children's lives, and how grateful and humbled I am to be a part of the St. Thomas community, the faculty and staff who always put your children front and center in everything we do. So thank you very much. And now, Marlon, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. And we also appreciate your leadership and vision to where you're continuing to carry us as well. So next I'll turn it over to, I'll say our new, still has that title of new Provost, Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Eddie Rojas.
Thank you, Marlon. It's great to be with you this evening. I'm so glad to be here. As you said, I just started at St. Thomas very recently, August 1st of this year, to be precise. So it's wonderful to be with you, and I'm excited to take your questions later on. As President Sullivan said, we are back on campus. Faculty are excited to be back in person, delivering personal attention to our students. We survived the pandemic by switching to online modes, but we are so pleased to be back face-to-face to engage with the students. Not only at the vast majority of classes in person, we are also back to having robust in-person academic experiences outside of the classroom, such as undergraduate research, student media, academic clubs, field experiences, and much more. Also important to note is that because of our high vaccination rates, we are finding much less disruption to classes this fall due to a student needing to quarantine. It's worth a reminder that students who are vaccinated do not have to quarantine if they are exposed. This by itself is a great reason to get vaccinated. So if your students are not yet vaccinated, I strongly encourage you to talk to them about the importance of getting the vaccine. We have returned to sponsoring study abroad programs as well. We had a few individual students go abroad this summer, and we sent our first group to Rome this fall. Studying abroad is a rich opportunity for a student, and it's great news that we are getting back to it. As President Sullivan mentioned, there's also exciting news in the Morrison Family College of Health as we get the school ready to welcome a student next year into the nursing program. Our nursing programs are in the final approval stages with our institutional accrediting board, the final step in the approval process. We had the site visit just a few weeks ago and are awaiting the report, but we feel very good about kicking off both programs next fall. We're gonna offer a bachelor's and a master's in nursing. There is so much engagement happening on campus right now, in and out of the classroom. I hope you will encourage your students to get involved in student groups, in research projects, and also to reach out to their professors. Remind them that they can be much more than just their teachers right now. They can become lifelong mentors. Thank you once again for joining us tonight. Marlon, back to you.
Oh, and thank you again, Dr. Rojas, and welcome and glad you're part of our family. Next, I'll introduce our Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Karen Lang.
Thank you, Marlon, and thank you, Eddie and Julie, for your comments. As Marlon said, my name is Karen Lang, and I'm the Vice President for Student Affairs. So I am honored to be here at St. Thomas. I am actually in my 35th year. So as everyone else talked about being fairly new, I am the veteran here. And I oversee a lot of the student services and the student engagement opportunities on campus. And for the past 21 months, I've also had the opportunity to co-chair our pandemic planning for the university. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So I am happy to be here tonight too. We always have enjoyed working with our parents. We see you as our partners. You want the same thing we do. We want your students to be happy and successful and to graduate from St. Thomas. So we always enjoy partnering with you. So tonight I did have an opportunity to look at some of the questions that came in advance. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about COVID, because there was quite a few questions about COVID. I'll talk a little bit about safety, jobs on campus. I was really happy to get the question of how do you find a job on campus? And I can't wait to answer that because we have lots of jobs on campus and we're excited for the students to work on campus. I'm going to talk a little bit about making connections and talk a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And if we have time, we have a fun video to show at the end. So let me start and talk a little bit about COVID. As Eddie mentioned, we are a highly vaccinated community, and we're excited about that because that is why we are back in person and can be doing what we're doing today. And I watch this every single day. We're at 88.5% of our vaccination rate, and we're really happy about that. As you know, we made that decision to mandate the vaccine this summer. It was a good decision, and we're happy with the direction that we're going. We do see about 8 to 10 cases a week of COVID on campus of students, staff, or faculty, and we're working closely with them. Students that do test positive do need to isolate, and as Eddie said, students that are not vaccinated need to quarantine, and we have spaces both on we have spaces on campus for that, and many times students choose to go home for that too. We did have 1 week with 18 cases. We had a little bit of a spike, and we expected that after we all came back together. We're anticipating that we'll continue kind of in this 8 to 10 cases a week. So we're also doing some contact tracing with roommates and classmates. For those of you who are returning parents, it's a little different this year. Last year, we were much more intense. We contact traced every single person that the student had contact with. But this year, because so many are vaccinated, we are doing contact tracing specifically with roommates and with classmates. We are continuing to wear face coverings indoors. We had a lot of questions from many of you about face coverings. We're putting out a communication towards the end of this week about how we will continue wearing face coverings, and we're watching our rate on campus of cases. We're watching our vaccination rate, but we're also watching the positivity rate in Ramsey and Hennepin counties where we are. We're such a porous community at St. Thomas. Our students are back and forth in the metro, and so it's important that we follow what's happening in Ramsey and Hennepin County, and unfortunately, those numbers are going up right now. So at this point, we're going to continue wearing face coverings, and we're working closely with the Minnesota Department of Health around that decision making. We consult with them once a week, and sometimes more than once a week, as they work with us with the decisions that we're making. We're monitoring and watching for the guidelines. President Biden made an announcement in September about some federal mandates. We're watching that closely, and we will see how that will impact our students and our employees. We do have a vaccination exemption policy, and the students and staff and faculty who have exemptions, we did make that exemptions for 1 semester, and we're in the process of reviewing that, and we'll share that within a month or so back with our community, and in particular those that have non-medical exemptions. So we received quite a few questions about safety on campus. And I just want to tell you that student safety has always been our priority at the university. This year, we did something different. During welcome days, we had our public safety officers interact directly with our students. One of the things that we heard from our students is we want to get to know our public safety officers better. So we're not only seeing them at a time of crisis, that we're getting to know them as people. So we've made a lot more engagement and efforts to do that this year. And as far as general safety in St. Paul and Minneapolis, we do hire an off-duty police officer that works the weekends in St. Paul. So that officer is around the neighborhood and can respond to issues that may come up. Again, our public safety is open 24/7. We do encourage students in both St. Paul and Minneapolis. They can ask for an escort from public safety, and that person will escort them up to 7 blocks within the area. So we strongly encourage students, if you're going to be out at night, if you're going to be in St. Paul or Minneapolis, to call for an escort. We had a couple of questions about just our pedestrian safety and crossing the streets. We've looked at that real carefully over the years, and even as we built new buildings, we're always looking at pedestrian safety. We used to have students that were kind of cutting across the street on Summit and Cretin. And so when we built the Anderson Student Center and we built some of the buildings on campus, we looked not only at the building itself, but the pedestrian traffic. And I know those are both really busy streets. Cleveland's pretty busy too. And I drive in every morning and I do see our students going to the corners and following the lights in order to cross the streets. And so we feel like that's pretty safe in terms of crossing Summit and Cretin, but they are very busy streets. So I appreciate students going to the lights and following the lights on campus. And we also have an alert system. If something happens on campus or near campus, we send out an alert to student on their texts. We text them on their cell phones. So even if that's 11 o'clock at night or it's 2 in the morning, if there's something going on in the neighborhood and we think, we might have students up or around in the neighborhood, we will send them a text so that they are aware of it. The next question, someone had asked about getting jobs on campus. I strongly encourage students to work on campus. First of all, not only is it great to make the extra money, but it's great for their time management. Students that work on campus need to organize their time because of their job. And it's a great way to build skills on campus. It's a great way to get connected to each other and get connected to different departments on campus. And we also, we follow the academic calendar. So if you're working in an office or you're working in a department, then you have off at the holidays. So we strongly encourage it. And not only is it a good idea, but we know that it's one of the main factors with our retention of students, that we have stronger retention rates with students who work on campus. So how do you do that? If you go to our human resources department, and you click on human resources, and then you click on student employment. And I just did it today as I was preparing for this event, and there's a lot of jobs listed. There are plenty of jobs on campus, so we strongly encourage students to do that. I want to just talk a little bit about getting connected on campus. As you heard Julie and Eddie talking about the importance of living on campus and the importance of getting engaged, that is really, really critical. And we do all kinds of things to help students get engaged. Those of you that have first-year students, as Dr. Sullivan said, we have a strong number of students living on campus this year. We have our living learning communities and our theme-based learning communities. We also have a strong commuter program for those students who are not living on campus. And one of the things that I was most excited about this year in particular, we have a first year experience program. It's a class, we started it last year and it was online. This year it's been in person. And so over our welcome days, our first year students met with their classmates. We have peer mentors that work with them, and they all got to know each other before the first class. In fact, I talked to several of our professors who are teaching that class, and they said when they came to class on the first day, they kind of felt like the odd person out, like everyone knew each other, which was a good thing. So that is a great way to get to know each other. And with some of those classes too, we do have some of them based on different identities. So we'll have some students who are commuters together in class. We have students who are first generation students together in class. We have out-of-state students together. We have STEM focused students together. So not only do they get to know each other, they get to know people that they have something in common with. We've also done quite a bit of events for our transfer students and also our sophomores. We've gone above and beyond. And I have to tell you, if you have a sophomore, they are the most appreciative students we have right now. We've had, we did an outdoor movie. We did an amazing race. We did game works at the Mall of America. We did an engagement fair and a picnic. And the students were they were so thankful and so appreciative because they had spent last year online and they were just excited to be together. If your student, there was one question about someone who felt like their student wasn't very engaged yet. If you don't feel like your student is getting connected, we do have something this year called Tommy Engagement Consultants, and it's through our campus life. And they're students that we've hired specifically to help students get engaged. They help coach them. They send them messages about events. So you can go on Tommy Link. Your student can go on Tommy Link, and then they can get connected with the Tommy Engagement Consultants, because we know that it's really critical to get that sense of belonging and get to know each other and get engaged on campus. So I also want to talk a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you heard those of you at orientation this summer, you heard our staff talk about DEI. And I just want to share with you that we have an overall university plan around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And each individual unit, each school, and each division has a plan also. And we want to create an inclusive environment for students. We have several signature programs on campus, in particular for our BIPOC students, to help them thrive on campus, get connected on campus, get connected with other students. And we also have a mentor program for our BIPOC students on campus. So we just finished Hispanic Heritage Month. So each month we have different events that happen to celebrate different cultures on campus. And it's a great way to not only celebrate, but also to get to know more about our own history of other people, and get to know other cultures. So not only do we want to be an inclusive campus, but we want to be an anti-racist campus. So as you have conversations with your students, I would really strongly encourage them to reach out to people who are different than them. It's a great opportunity to be able to do that. Now I have a couple more quick things, and then I know we want to open it up for questions. I do want to just mention, we appreciate your patience and your students' patience. We are experiencing a bit of a labor shortage on campus. Just as you are seeing that in your own communities, we are seeing that on our campus. We do not have all of our dining facilities opened because of that. But we're working really hard to work with some temp agencies. We had a job fair today to hire more people. If you know of people that may be interested in working at the University of St. Thomas, it's a great place to work. Also, you do get tuition remission for your students. So dining services is a great opportunity. We have our dining services, our public safety, and our physical plant. We are having some labor shortages. So I ask for your patience with that as we move forward. I think we'll go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and give it back to Marlon. And at the end, if we still have time, just want to share, we're going to share just a website about some of the weekend events that we do, and we're going to share a video. But I think we should open it up for questions first, and then we can do that at the end, Marlon.
Awesome, thank you. And before we go to that, Father Collins, do you want to introduce yourself, kind of talk about the Office of Mission before we get this first question?
Sure. Thanks so much, Marlon. It's great to be with you all. I'm also new. I started this role of Vice President for Mission on July 1st, but I'm also an alumnus. So I was here back in the early 90s and graduated in 93. So it's a real gift for me to be back working at St. Thomas and to serve in this way, and taught a little bit of theology last semester, spring semester, when I got here too. So I got to know some students that way, but I'm very grateful to be here. Maybe just a quick word on what the Office of Mission is and what we try to work on. So there's two different departments that report to the Office of Mission. One is Campus Ministry, and the other is the Center for the Common Good. So within Campus Ministry, as you'd imagine, a lot of the the masses and the liturgies and the retreats and international service programs, all sorts of different interfaith prayer experiences and dialogues among different faiths. We had an interfaith prayer vigil last night, actually outside in the amphitheater. And so there are opportunities for students. We want to try to encourage as much as possible the deepening of faith, the learning about our own faith while interacting with others from different backgrounds and so on. So we have affiliated ministries. We had a very consoling meeting last week with, we have affiliate with a few outside ministries from different denominations that work with students interior to St. Thomas. And I got to learn more about how we collaborate with them, and there are literally hundreds of students that are a part, some Catholic, some Protestant in this situation, that are meeting together weekly, praying together, sharing about life together, examining questions of faith, and honestly just building friendship. And so that's part of the, as Karen was just talking about, that getting involved, that's on the spiritual and religious side, we have a very high level of import that we place on that as well from the level of faith. And there's a lot of opportunities for students to engage that way, which is consoling. We put on retreats. We had a first year retreat, outdoors retreat, all kinds of things. So I'd highly encourage your students to take part in those. And in fact, even those international service programs, I did that. I did those every time there was a break when I was a student here, both spring break and J terms. I took the advantage every single time, and going to different countries to serve in different places and learning new cultures and learning a little bit of Spanish, not enough, but I began to learn some Spanish in those instances. And honestly, those are still some of my best friends in life that I met there. So highly encourage that participation. And then the Center for the Common Good facilitates a lot of the local service opportunities and volunteering in a whole variety of different dimensions, and also work with faculty. A growing number of faculty from all sorts of different disciplines work with community agencies of different kinds that might work on homelessness or prison reentry programs or mental health, any number of different things. So faculty teach courses that are based upon the service that the students are doing out in the community. And then they're having that real life experience with all sorts of different populations, and then come back into a political science class or an economics class or a theology class and so on, and learn based on that, the real realities of people, especially who are vulnerable in a lot of different ways. So the Center for the Common Good does all sorts of different things to help kind of broaden the horizons and the experiences of our students, to learn from different populations and different people from different walks of life. And those are just, I think, truly transformative educational experiences that help us to realize what the needs are in the world. And ultimately, as our students become more and more educated in a whole variety of different disciplines, they know the needs that are out there in the world, and then what the gifts are that they have that can contribute to serve those needs. And that really is what the mission of the university is all about in many ways. Certainly that Catholic mission, realizing that it's a great gift to be able to study and to learn, and that's a privilege to be able to do that. But that education is not just for ourselves; it's ultimately for others, for the rest of the human family too. So we have in those two departments, those are some, I think, powerful ways that we help fulfill that mission. I also work with faculty and staff on another dimension of the job. Help for faculty, especially who want to learn more, no matter what faith background they come from too. Some are Catholic, some are Christian, some no faith at all, some Jewish, Muslim, all sorts of different faculty take part in different seminars where they want to learn more about what is this Catholic intellectual tradition. The university itself comes out of the church from the Middle Ages, as you might know. So what is this long tradition that we've got that has a way of trying to encompass all the different disciplines and see how they relate to each other, the unified truth that exists from different perspectives. And so that we have a long, deep dive into that intellectual and the Catholic social teaching tradition as well. And we also build up a great sense of community among the faculty that way too. That's also a nice social dimension, and they get to meet people from in a more sustained way from different disciplines. And I think that's also a great, and I certainly enjoy those opportunities to meet with the great faculty that we have, and to know firsthand how dedicated they are to the service of your students in the classroom, and how passionate they are, and how always looking for new ways to try to engage them. So our office tries to offer a little bit of a spark to deepen that sense of those faculty of what's unique about St. Thomas, what's unique about our mission, and the import that we have before us. And then I also, when I can, I like to try to get off campus and roam around and try to learn about what's going on out in the city and meet different kinds of representatives of different organizations and learn what they do, and also try to get a sense of how can St. Thomas continue to play an ever greater role in the Twin Cities to contribute in a variety of ways, to partner, to have pathways for deeper education for our own students, and also to be of service. Like, for example, just today, I went down over to a hospice, which is right down the street, and learned about that ministry that's there and home health care that they do, and they provide it entirely free for the poor. And they're very eager to think about different ways that St. Thomas students, whether in clinical applications for nurses or social workers, that they could work pretty robustly there, or they could do small things like make prayer shawls and shawls for people who are in hospice and a sign of a comfort and care. And so there's they were very excited about St. Thomas relationships. I've gone out to visit a lot of the urban Catholic schools and to learn what they do and how they're doing and how we can contribute in that regard. And I had a great Zoom call today with a rabbi from downtown Minneapolis congregation to learn about the network of interfaith clergy in the Twin Cities. And then we ended up talking about the work around criminal justice reform and helping people find jobs when they come out of incarceration. And she was happy to know that St. Thomas people have a lot of passion around trying to contribute in those ways. So it's really a privilege for me and a lot of fun, honestly, to get out there and to learn as much as I can, both about what St. Thomas people are doing and what they're passionate about, and then what the needs are in the city and how can we try to link some of these needs together. So that's I guess more than a little about what what we try to work on in the Office of Mission, but grateful to be able to be with you all tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So with that being said, Julie and President Sullivan and Father Collins, I kind of want to start off with both of you and with our first question here. So thinking about this last year and a half, when we think about the pandemic, this kind of racial unrest nationally and locally for us here in the Twin Cities area, how is St. Thomas working to ensure that students, particularly from those from marginalized groups, feel welcome here at St. Thomas? And on the other side of that, how are we also encouraging students, as you mentioned earlier, about the sense of the common good? How are we helping students to learn and to promote being a part of the change that we want to see in our society in particular?
So I'll start a little bit on that. Thank you for that question, Marlon. And really, ultimately, our goal is for every student at St. Thomas to feel a great sense of belonging. We have to understand, particularly for our first and second year students, they live on our campus. It's their home. And even for some of our upper division students who live off campus, they report to us they spend far more hours on our campus than wherever they might live. And you think about your home. Your home needs to be a place that you feel safe, that you feel affirmed, that you can go to for comfort and support, but also that pushes you to learn and grow. And so we're still really striving to create a stronger sense of belonging for all of our students on our campus and a greater sense of safety and comfort in this new home, and a sense of being valued and affirmed. The literature in higher education talks about kind of three aspects of belonging on a college campus. It talks about a sense of social belonging, a sense of academic belonging, and a sense of community belonging. Frankly, it's a little easier for us to provide the opportunities that often can lead to the social belonging, because the social belonging means I can find a group of friends or a group of people that I have some common interests with, and we have many clubs. We have a number of multicultural clubs. We have lots of activities. So, I think we do very well. It's not like everybody feels a sense of social belonging, but I do think we have a lot of opportunities for students to find a group or a club where they can find that. Academic belonging requires that our faculty understand how to lead a classroom that values and cultivates everyone's perspective. And we have lots of work that we do with our faculty in terms of professional development and faculty development to help them attain even stronger skills at that. And our faculty do partake in that. But I do think we have more work to do there. The community belonging is the one that probably we have least control over, but it's one of the most important. Because the community belonging means that every interaction a student has on our campus, they feel like it is one of support and affirmation. It's not one of marginalization. It's not one of somehow not appreciating that person for who they are. And that means everybody on our campus is responsible for creating a sense of community belonging. And that requires us to really help everybody on our campus understand the value of living and learning in a diverse community. Because I guarantee you, I talk to employers all the time. Employers are very diverse and they're becoming more diverse and they expect to become even more diverse. And they want to hire people that are comfortable working in that diversity, but even beyond that, value it and are going to thrive there and contribute to it. And so that's the opportunity we have to teach everybody in our community. It does really pain me when we have things happen in our community that are hurtful to our, particularly to our BIPOC students. You probably know that we had an event about, let's see, I lose track of time, but it's a little over a week ago now, where some white supremacist posters were put on our campus. That happened to a number of college campuses across the nation. There's a white supremacist group that has made it their mission to put these posters across campuses, on campuses across the country. But that's painful because it's painful for us to have a student see that and feel like their identity is not valued and recognized. We, of course, quickly remove them, but that experience is more painful to our BIPOC community if they're also not feeling affirmed in all of their daily interactions in our community. So we continue to strive for this. We have many efforts going on with all of our students, no matter what they identify with, to reach this sense of community belonging, and we'll continue that commitment.
Thank you. Father Chris, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would say, in addition to all the things we were just talking about, in the classroom experiences where we're trying to learn about other people and from different disciplines, all the different structured organizations and pathways to get out in the community and learn more. There's so much that's built in within the apparatus of the whole university that tries to facilitate these kinds of encounters and deepening of understanding, and encouraging students to get into places that are not comfortable, where it's unfamiliar, or in encountering different kinds of people, whether it's on campus or off campus. We have a lot of people that work very hard at putting together those experiences, and then having a chance to process and to reflect as well. And yet there are still constant challenges, like Dr. Sullivan just mentioned, the incident last week. And I was privileged to be able to join along with Dr. Lang and Bachman here. Almost immediately as that incident happened, there were several students of color that came together. I don't know who did the outreach at first, but there were people on top of this and attentive, inviting them in to just process and to talk about how they're feeling. And I must say, that's very painful to hear the felt lack of belonging. for anybody, you know, but to sit in that room and to listen and frankly, to feel pretty powerless in listening to some of that pain, really heartbreaking. But also, I think very important that so many, first of all, that there's space to be able to do that, and that there were so many staff on hand and present to genuinely want to listen. And we can't fix things right now, but the most important thing, it seems to me, is to show up and to be close and to be present to where there is any pain. You know, I think actually, that was one class that I taught last year. Some of you might be familiar with that book, Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. I used a portion of his book, and it's really powerful about his work on death row. But some of the principles that he lays out for how do we continue to renew and transform our culture that's so divided in all kinds of different ways. And the very first thing that he talks about that really sticks with me, and that is very much a Catholic principle, it seems to me, is get proximate, get close to where there's pain, anywhere in humanity, right? Anywhere in our own community, anywhere in our city. The most important thing is to get close. And especially when you don't have any answers or ability to make things better, it's important to show up. To me, this is exactly the ministry of Jesus, right? He goes close to where there's pain. That's the mission of the church. That's the mission of a Catholic university, is to get close. And as you get close to where there is pain, the narrative starts to change about other people that I might be afraid of or misunderstand or be suspicious of. You know, there's nothing like getting face to face and getting personal. The narratives that we have, that we all grow up with, that are sort of distorted, that always need to be kind of made more whole. Our narratives change when we get close to people, right? So I think there's just some principles in there, and to always stay hopeful. That's his third thing. When you're in these difficult situations, it's imperative not to become embittered or cynical and so on and just give up. It's essential for us as human beings, and as within a university community, certainly, to remain hopeful and creative and constructive even as we go through that. Now I'm blanking on what the fourth stage is there, but anyway, those are three pretty good ones. Get close to where there's pain. That changes the narrative, and how important it is to remain hopeful. So I think that's a great challenge for us as a culture, more and more. There's no perfect way to do that, but we are trying from all sorts of different directions, it seems to me, to create an atmosphere and create a culture where that kind of ongoing transformation for all of us, you know, is not only possible, but made so evident on a daily basis. And so we also need the help, certainly, of our families and parents of our students, and conversations and so on that go on at home and with neighbors and so on. This is a big challenge for our whole culture, and I think we just all need to chip in all the different ways that we can to try to build up a more healthy and inclusive human family, basically, because we're all made in the image and likeness of God, right? Because every single one of us is to be revered. Okay, now I'm starting to preach, Marlon. So pardon me.
Yeah, we'll get the collection plate out in a minute. So no, thank you both for sharing that. And I think, not totally switching gears, but thinking about this evolution of this pandemic we're in, and kind of thinking about the effort of the common good of wearing a mask and getting vaccinated. So Dr. Lang and Dr. Rojas, a lot of folks may ask, well, 88% of the campus is vaccinated. Why are we still doing these classes online, or having the modality online, or having programs like student events online? So could each one of you kind of, with Dr. Rojas and Dr. Lang, kind of talk about why might we still have some classes online, and why might we still see some programs, events that are still online as well?
Well, thank you, Marlon. It's interesting because yesterday I was meeting with a group of students, and I got a similar question, but from a little bit of a different perspective. And actually the student was asking me, Now that we have outfitted most of our classrooms with cameras and that we have the technology, are we going to continue taking advantage of that technology, or are we going to completely abandon it? And I think that this question answers this other question that we are facing today. During the last year and a half, we have learned a lot about virtual technologies. We have learned a lot about how to teach in this modality. And we have realized that in some instances, works as well or maybe even better than in-person instruction. Not always, of course. In a few instances, it does. And so it makes a lot of sense to have the best of both worlds. The student specifically was asking us if it would be possible to continue broadcasting some of our classes in Zoom, just in case they cannot attend class because they happen to be sick, and they can still watch it, or if we can record those lessons so that they can watch it a second time if they were not completely clear about a concept that was explained in class. But I can see many other instances when using these technologies would make a lot of sense. Imagine that we have an alum in California, for example, that has been very successful in her career, and we want to bring her to the classroom as a guest speaker. Well, if we do it in person, that individual would have to travel from California to here, participate in the lecture, and then go back. You're talking 2 or 3 days out of her work. That is a very big ask. But if we contact that person and we ask her, can you come for 1 hour class? That is a lot more doable. And so we may be able to tap into resources that were not really available to us in the past. And so that particular lesson may be a Zoom lesson because it makes a lot of sense. In other cases, I could imagine faculty broadcasting from different locations as well. If we have a faculty member that is on sabbatical in Florence, and you have a class about art history, well, it would be absolutely amazing to have that faculty broadcast from one of the sites in Florence, about the magnificent pieces of art that are available there. So what we are doing is just evaluating our experience, learning from what we have done in the last year and a half, and figuring out what elements we can maintain because they're going to enhance the student experience. And that is our objective. We will use whatever modality or technology or methodology is going to improve, enhance, optimize the student experience.
Thank you. Karen, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I will add just a couple of things. We too, with out of classroom experience, learned quite a bit during the pandemic. Just as an example, when I think about our student government who was always meeting in person, they started meeting in Zoom. And there were some students that were contributing and talking who would hardly said a word when they were in person. So, sometimes students learn or engage in different ways. And there are some students who may be more comfortable engaging on Zoom. And I would agree, with what Eddie said too, where we've had some speakers come to campus, and during the pandemic, they didn't physically come to campus, but were able to do that on Zoom. So we've continued to have some programs specifically for students, and some of our services too. For example, some of our students have said they preferred counseling on Zoom. We've done HIPAA protected counseling, and they said I can sit in my room and feel more comfortable and be able to talk with a counselor rather than talking in person. And we've been able to engage some students that normally wouldn't be able to come to St. Paul to get into the Center for Wellbeing because maybe they're a long distance student or they live in another state, and so they're able to do the counseling through Zoom also. So some of it has been around convenience for students, and some of it's been around efficiencies.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you both for that. And I definitely think the big message here, the majority of those things are happening on in person, but the Zoom technology and other technologies help us to basically enhance the services that we have had. Because I definitely think Zoom has taught a lot of things that we can utilize moving forward. So thinking about time here, I think I'm gonna mix it up just a little bit, but I'm gonna try to combine the last two questions here so everybody can kind of speak on this. And so thinking about, Dr. Sullivan, you mentioned earlier the strategic plan and where we're going forward. what excites you about the future of St. Thomas? And with that, what advice or suggestions or offerings would you offer to parents and families as well?
Well, you know, one of the things that excites me about the future of St. Thomas, we are very committed to our students and student outcomes. And we've just launched a capital campaign, and our #1 fundraising priority is scholarships and student support. And I can't wait for the day that we can fully meet the need of all of our students and really ensure we already have fairly high retention and graduation rates, but I would like to have even higher. And then to ensure that we have prepared those students to enter into a fulfilling career and life of purpose. And I think we continue to get better at that every day. And I think my advice for parents is, I watched my child become an adult both my son and daughter, as they went through college. And you're proud of them now, but you're going to be even more proud of them over the next few years as you see them fully become their best selves. And you're going to see a lot of the lessons that you have worked so hard for many years come out in many ways, shapes, and forms, and that'll be very gratifying to you.
Awesome, thank you. Dr. Rojas, what would you say excites you, and what advice would you offer to our families tonight?
Yeah, well, I joined a couple of months ago, and I'm already incredibly excited about the future of the institution, because I see the passion of all of our faculty and staff and students. People are truly committed to the mission of the institution, and they believe in helping and assisting our students in any way that we can. So it's a great future. We are moving in multiple directions. It's not an institution that is standing still, not by a long shot. We look at what we're doing today, and what we're doing today is better than what we did yesterday, but we know that it's not as good as what we're going to be doing tomorrow. And it is that attitude that gets me out of bed every day with a smile in my face and ready to go to work and do everything that I can for our students. And I know that everybody at the institution has exactly the same objective, right? And so to me, that is very exciting. To parents, I would say, in terms of advice, support your students, but also give them some space to make their own decisions. And in some cases, they need to make their own mistakes. And that's part of the learning experience. And as a parent, it's logical to try to do your best to protect your students. And by all means, that's understandable. But it's also a good idea to give them a little bit of latitude and engage with them in conversations in a way that provides them with a sense of independence and a sense of identity, because that's what they're doing. They're growing, they're maturing, and they're becoming independent. And you have done your job throughout their life. Trust that they're going to do the right thing, continue mentoring them, continue coaching them, but provide them with that love that you have for them, and the love of a little bit of independence at the same time.
Thank you. Dr. Lang, what would you say, excitement and advice?
Well, I think when Julie mentioned earlier about the D1 athletics, it really has been fun to see this transition and to see the school spirit on campus. I'm really excited about, homecoming and family weekend coming up, but I just see that our student engagement increasing around our transition to D1. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm really excited about school of nursing too. I just think that it's going to attract a whole new group of students, and nurses are really needed. And it just feels like we're going to be contributing to society through this new program. Advice, mine would be similar. I watch my children go through college also, and it is hard to let go sometimes. And I remember my daughter, who went to St. Thomas, she studied abroad, and when she left to study abroad, she didn't have her housing set up. She's like, I'm going to stay in a hostel and I'll figure it out when I get there. And she did, she did all kinds of things while she was studying abroad, and it made me a little anxious, but she came back a much more independent, mature woman. And it's so many experiences that she had here has helped her to be the successful person she is today, both as a mom, as a wife, as a professional in the Twin Cities. So just being able to let go and let them make some of those decisions themselves.
Awesome. And Father Chris, is there anything you want to add to close us out here?
Yeah, it's the thing that comes to mind is what I'm excited about is, especially with all the dynamism and the expansion even of new programs and so on, it's to get to know students and to see how they develop in discovering their own gifts, deepening the gifts that they have been given from God, from their families, from their friends, and that they're deepening here on campus, discovering those gifts, and then looking for ways to give those gifts away in the world. I mean, to discover their vocation, in other words. I think it's just an incredibly exciting time, and to be able to see that progression over the years is so inspiring too. So I'm excited about that for our students. And then advice too. It's very similar. For parents, I thought immediately of my oldest sister, who's got 2 kids, and at one point, I think she learned this maybe midway through college years, but she had plenty of times where she was pretty frustrated with my niece and nephew for a variety of reasons, and trying to figure out their problems for them. And then somebody told my sister, instead of trying to figure it out, just ask them a question in response. So, I'm sorry you're having this difficulty on whatever it is. So what are you going to do about it? So she just changed her narrative, and it kind of freed things up. It took a little load off her, and the kids started to respond more. So it's a similar kind of vein as Eddie and Karen were just talking about, really believing and having confidence, even if it's a little shaky sometimes, that our young people they do have the gifts and they do have the goods to be able to figure things out and to be constructive and creative. And so to take that leap of faith, to know that they'll make those choices they're going to be fruitful over time. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, with that being said, I want to thank all of you for taking the time, probably a little longer than we expected, but really appreciate your ability to sit with us and stay through this all and provide your advice to families and just your perspectives as well. Last couple of things I want to just remind our families, Parent and Family Weekend, as Karen pointed out, is this weekend. So we hope to see you. We'll probably be masked up, but if you see us, you can always say hello. But definitely excited to see all of you here and to join us for the festivity this weekend and root on the Toms for hopefully a good victory this weekend. I also want to mention that our Parent and Family Handbook is also a really good resource for parents and families to use. If you want to talk to your student about some of these conversations and to promote that independence, that's a great resource that you can find on our website under our Parent and Family Resources website. And so we hope that this would be the first of many opportunities that we'll kind of engage in these webinars to allow parents and families to ask their questions and kind of get the perspective of our leaders here on campus. And so we'll definitely, hopefully, be engaging in numerous of these, at least this term and next term as well. So again, Dr. Sullivan, Dr. Lang, Dr. Rojas, Father Collins, I really appreciate your time tonight. And I hope you get to enjoy your evening tonight. And for all of our participants and attendees, also thank you. And thank you for trusting us with your students and adults as well. And so we appreciate that opportunity. So thank you again, and hope to see all of you soon.